You could listen. Good afternoon, collectors. Welcome to the Loft, Leighton's Loft, our weekly podcast with my compadre Lou and the gang at the 459. How is everybody doing this afternoon?
Very good. We need everybody to participate either via the Leighton's Loft Facebook page. I know some of you are watching on Vintage Breaks YouTube. There is a separate Leighton's Loft broadcast going on right now. To comment, you have to go there. Vintage Breaks Facebook page, probably the same deal. Probably two broadcasts going on right now. You want to be on the Leighton's Loft podcast.
So, Lou, a very exciting, weekend of games in the NFL.
Yeah.
What's up, Jim? Welcome, Ken, Ernie, and the rest of the gang here. Thanks for joining us on Leighton's Loft. So what was it's obvious what the bigger surprise was, but, what was your biggest surprise?
That was so much fun.
Crazy, right?
I love watching the Steelers embarrass themselves. It's one of my favorite things each year.
So the thing is that it's one of those where, like, as a Jet fan, what's up, Matt? You love seeing the Browns beat the Steelers because you think that the Jets can be the Browns one day and, make it to the playoffs and ultimately maybe win a first round, on the road in a tough environment like Pittsburgh, although obviously a little bit different with COVID.
Yeah.
However, they still had to deliver and they scored a lot of points to make it happen. But I just thought that it made for an exciting, cap, to the weekend.
Yeah, total surprise, but a pleasant surprise at that. So, yeah, if the playoff football has been good, I've been happy with playoff football. It's been a kind of a lukewarm season, but I've been happy with the playoffs so far.
Absolutely. So as we kind of get into the show, Lou, we have some time. Love to circle back, talk about this week's matchups and some predictions and such. But, got a couple of things to cover first.
Yep.
I wanted to extend a special thanks to our friend Steve Cardillo, who joined us yesterday at Cardillo Weight Belts, and Patrick Ganino, who kind of made it happen. We had a lot of fun. So now, Lou, we didn't want you thinking, you're out on the athlete or celebrity breaks. But to be clear, we didn't really sell the break. Steve was gracious enough to kind of just join us. And so the point being is that we just kind of rolled with it. We gave away some fun stuff. He actually surprised us. He gave away not just the belt that, he designed himself to his community on Instagram. By the way, Lou, he has 700,000 followers.
Wow.
So, like, when we got together with Holly Saunders, and, by the way, thrilled that she had 500,000, we're thinking, like, what? That's going to probably be the high watermark for a while for us. Unless you're going to, like, substantial YouTube stars and such.
Jeff's cousin is visiting. She thinks I'm hot. I like it. This is good. I can go move Cody in Las Vegas.
You already got Babe set up for you. This is great.
Wherever Jeff is, I don't know where Jeff is.
That's fantastic.
All right, so we have 700,000 followers, which makes me mad to a certain degree.
Well, we're a little short of 700,000.
Yeah, we are.
But nonetheless, he's been doing this. What's really interesting is kind of, very inspirational to other entrepreneurs, Lou. He said, like, there's not really a secret. To be fair, he got lucky and forged a relationship with Hulk Hogan early in his career. And really, he's a professional bodybuilder by trade.
Yeah.
So what happened was he just designed these belts, and then ultimately folks started wearing them. And he said, they're wearing them, like, out there for people to see. So people are like, hey, man, where'd you get that cool belt?
Yeah.
So, all of a sudden it's become, booming business for him. And I thought he was a great guest. I hope everyone else enjoyed it as well.
Yep. Can we get him on the Loft?
I tried to. Lou, you would have been proud of me. You would have been proud of me, Lou. So at the end, that's what I'm starting to do. Like, I just talked to Ravel for a few minutes before. Yep. He was actually giving me some advice. It was great. But, I'm trying to drop hints. Like, I dropped a hint to Cardillo yesterday. I said, yeah, we got to have you back. And I kind of did it like, not under my breath, but it was more of like, yeah, on the loft, like, we'll just talk about some regular stuff. It'll be great. Like it was, it's going to be cool, Lou. I think we're going to have some fun guests this year.
Excellent. Yeah. Looking forward to it.
Wait, the Harden trade is already happened? I know it's in process.
Yeah, it just happened a few minutes ago. I don't know.
Whoa, well, that's worth interrupting the show. Let me pull up the
Let's see if I can find something here.
Figured it would. Well, it's funny. I'll go to ESPN first, but generally Twitter's faster. Oh no, it's already on here, man. Oh, get out of here! He's going to the Nets. Of course he is. Yeah. Oh my God, I'm ill. So as like a Celtic fan, that's just gross. So I'm not saying Kyrie is not a basket case because he is, but like Jesus criminy, man, they have Kyrie and KD. They have a pretty decent team, Karis LeVert and a few other players. Oh, there's a 3-team deal. So the Rockets are getting Oladipo from Indiana. 3 first-rounders. Wow. 1 Milwaukee first, Brooklyn first-round swap kits. It's honestly too hard to – oh, LeVert's gone. Jared, all right, regardless, still, it seems like the Nets are going to be in a good spot.
Okay, I'm not an NBA guy, right?
I know you're not, yeah.
But the NBA itself, you said gross. The term you used is gross. The NBA is kind of slimy in terms of player movement anyway, isn't it?
It's become like that. It's kind of like, imagine, I realize it's not this simple, but Lou, you played kickball in gym class, growing up, right?
Yep.
So, imagine you get done choosing your sides, and that's, the way it gets done. That's just, how it happens. Yep. Meanwhile, you're not happy with your team at the end, and so, someone just quits, or, they're a crybaby. You're not really that happy about that person. You know what I mean?
What it reminds me more of is when I was playing men's league softball, and in men's league softball, there'd be a good team and a real good player, and a team would get good, and then everybody'd want to go play for them.
Oh, that's actually a much better. You're right. And to be fair, I'd rather be on the other. We're talking softball, right? Not professional hoops. Yeah. But nonetheless, even in softball, I'd rather be on the other team. So you can.
Yeah, a lot of players want to play for the good team, and then what would happen is they'd start putting a second team together, and all the other players would go to the second team, and it wasn't about roster building anymore, and it wasn't about loyalty to a market. It was these players determining that they wanted to go play for a particular team, and that's the NBA is kind of club ball now. Everyone's going to determining where they're going to play. I know there's a salary cap, but it obviously doesn't mean much of anything.
Listen, it's filth. It's honestly filth because it's like a salary cap. But they all get together and, oh, man. Once again, I'm also, on a personal level, bothered because I think it hurts the Celtics' chances of coming out of the East. Wow, that's a lot of draft picks exchanging hands there, Dougie Fresh, with the news break. James Harden going to the Nets, Cavs, Jared Allen, Taurean Prince is nothing. Pacers.
What are the Nets draft picks, first-round draft picks, going to be for the next 6 years?
Nothing great. And then the Pacers got LeVert, who's a really good young player. Wait, I'm confused. The Rockets got Oladipo, so at least they have a legit player from the deal. Yep. And then where is Indiana in this? I'm a little bit confused. He has Milwaukee. I don't know. It's a little bit hard to read on the screen.
All those players and first rounders from Brooklyn, first rounders in 22, 24.
Okay, so basically Indiana's getting draft picks also.
Let's bring Dougie in. Dougie, are you with us? Maybe we can we're only getting the voice here. Dougie, can you update us?
I'm here. Okay, so Brooklyn sent their first round pick of 22, 24, and 26. They also had Milwaukee's 2022 protected pick. That goes to Houston. And then they get the right to swap 21, 23, 25, and 27 picks with the Nets.
Good Lord.
So basically they're going to get 7 first round picks each year.
That's insanity. So to be honest, Dougie, if you're Houston, you really didn't do that bad.
No, you not only got rid of Harden, who didn't want to be there, you also have a chance to rebuild. You have John Wall, you have DeMarcus Cousins, you have Oladipo. You have a decent team. You got rid of James Harden, and you have a chance now to rebuild fully.
And of course, the Nets are grosser than ever. It's funny. Any likability that the Durantula had before this, to me, is gone. Or at least, once again, I'm a Celtics fan. I'm biased, but there's no way Durant wasn't like leading the charge. Like, hey, let's get Harden. If he was like anti-Harden, he wouldn't be coming to the Nets.
Right.
So, it's just like another super team. And like I said, it just feels, you're right. It's a little bit like the softball team in men's league that's getting good. Let's get part of that team.
Does Irving come out of hiding now? Or is he going to play? Or is it everything that's going on with Irving, was that not?
You know what, man? He might come out and tell us he's got a cure for COVID. The guy's really, he's out of his mind. So I'm not going to really, I don't even want to like give him space on our show. And we're nothing, man. We don't have a lot of, we don't have a huge following, but I just don't want to. Irving just seems like a nutball.
Cody's still looking for someone to help him move. So,
put an ad like on one of those, many multiple services, but tell your friends first, so if you go missing, we know where to find you. I don't mean to scare you. So anyway, Lou, I wanted to also talk about a few other things, but I wanted to little plug to Sports Collectors Daily. And I wanted to bring them up on our show and talk about a piece of news that's on their site now. So we'll see. There's always good stuff to talk about from our good friend Rich Miller, sportscollectorsdaily.com. Oh, this was a great story. So Rich has a column called News and Notes. And can you see this on the screen?
Hang on. I'll see if I can find it on his page.
Yeah, so it's under News and Notes, but I'm showing you on the screen so you can see that, Lou. It's under, keep going. It's that LeBron card. Yep, there it is, Notes. Yep. Kids 2004, click on that. So what a great story. And once again, you can find this full story on sportscollectorsdaily.com, hopefully less the links. I'm not sure what kind of things Lou's looking at there, in the off hours, but he's got a lot of links.
Even I'm looking at that's just what's on Rich's site.
I know. So anyway,
over here.
That 2004 SP Game Use LeBron James. If you read the story, it's awesome. 16 years ago, a young kid gets an 04-05 SP Game Use basketball box from his parents, pulls a one-of-one LeBron, turns down $1,700 for the card. Which, by the way, Lou, as a young kid,
yes,
like to have that. I mean, I'm sorry, $1,700 for you and I right now. Like, give me that money in 2 seconds. Yes. Not for that card, of course, right now. But I'm just saying, $1,700. Like he didn't turn down $100. So he puts it away, and it's currently in Golden Auctions. And our friend Ken thinks it's going to sell for approximately $250,000.
Holy cow!
Yeah, can you believe that? A one-of-one he pulls from a Christmas gift from a box that cost, I don't know, maybe a few $100 back in the day, and he turned down $1,700. He's going to get like 150 times on that potentially. 16 years later, Lou, unbelievable.
Wow, he should have said it was his father's property, because that's going to screw him on financial aid.
Yeah, well, I think you might have a new business for yourself, Lou. That's a great side gig. Anyone who the website is sportscollectorsdaily.com, Matt. Rich is a good friend of mine. Check it out.
Oh yeah, you gotta check in on Sports Collectors Daily.
Yeah, it's part of like one of the very few things I do every day.
Mm-hmm.
So
$1 million. Holy cow! What a life changer, huh?
Oh, are you kidding me? I mean, just like, but then also like the good fortune that he had to pass on selling it, and he pulled it on Christmas, but he saved it. I mean, man, that's got to make it feel real good. Yep.
How long ago did he refuse to sell it?
I think he said he tried to sell it in the first year, or shortly after he got it.
So 3 years ago?
Oh no, it's 2004. So 17. 2004. Yeah, 2004. So 16, 17 years.
Wow.
Yeah, pretty wild.
Yeah, good for him.
Exactly. God bless. What's up, Brad? What's shaking, Cody? Anyway, folks, if you have, an inclination is like you want to see what's going on in the hobby, check out Sports Collectors Daily. It's great. Oh, wow. Jason sold a 2003 LeBron Topps Chrome Black Refractor for $900 in 2004. Oh, my goodness. So, Jason, you know that we have the set break up on the site, the whole 2003 Topps Chrome Black Refractor set break. Spots are 450. We're down to about 20 spots left, believe it or not. Just think about that. The LeBron right now in a 9, it might be worth even a little bit more than $50,000. It's a solid $50,000 card. and he sold it for $900. Doesn't mean it would have 9, but still, it's pretty wild. Pretty wild. So anyway, like I said, I hope everyone enjoyed yesterday with Steve Cardillo. It was awesome. It was really interesting content, and I'm hoping if we get him on the Loft, just like Ricky the Dragon Steamboat shared with me a little story about Andre the Giant.
Yeah.
I feel like Steve has some stories. So I don't want to press him too hard. He was great. Really generous with giveaways and just seemed like really down to earth. And honestly, it's funny. I didn't even really look at the time at all. We didn't really talk about a time, but it was already past 8:30. I said, Steve, I can keep you all night.
Yeah.
So I'm going to let you go soon. But it was great and very much appreciated he was able to join us.
Who have you for wrestlers? Who have you interviewed?
Just Ricky the Dragon Steamboat.
Okay. I've done Jake the Snake.
Oh.
I've done Brutus the Barber.
Great.
I'm trying to think who else. That's the 2 that come to mind so far.
So someone texted me last night, Lou, after seeing Steve Cardillo, and then of course we were fortunate enough that Hulk Hogan's people tagged us on Instagram because Steve Cardillo and Hulk Hogan are friends.
Mm-hmm.
If you want, Lou, check it out afterwards. The post had over 7,000 likes. It was pretty wild. So between that and Chevy, as my brother-in-law said, he goes, Leighton, you're practically like a D-list celebrity. He goes, you're Billy Vaughn. You got the whole thing. It was really funny, man, how he rattled it off. So
you're on TMZ.
Yeah, exactly. Hey, I'll take the D-list. Some people don't make any list, So, yeah, no, I hope the Rangers are going to be good. I don't necessarily know they're going to be good this year, but, they got some young talent. So do the Devils. But anyway, kind of getting back to center here, do check out Sports Selectors Daily when you have a chance. And, maybe we'll get Rich to write an article on Steve joining us yesterday because really it's a trip. Steve does it because he loves it. It's very obvious.
Yep.
And it's always nice to talk to folks like that.
Have Steve on and have him bring Hulk, and then everybody happy.
Yeah, listen, I would be very happy, and I'm sure you'd be very happy with that. Our audience would be very pleased. We are working on that. Shout out to our good friend Darren Prince of Prince Marketing Group. What's up, Nick? He reps Hulk Hogan in a variety of different fashions, so we're hoping to make that happen.
Yep.
And I'm sure we'd be able to get a solid story or two from Hulk.
I've told you the story how I killed Randy Macho Man Savage, right?
I believe you did, but since we're talking wrestling, we could talk again.
Yeah, I was doing a show, Tom's other show, not the collecting show. I was doing his show, and we had a running gag going during the show using drop-ins from Randy Macho Man Savage, who were using him throughout the show, and we were having a lot of fun with it. Randy died during the show.
That's terrible.
Yeah, I felt bad. I felt like I had something to do with it.
Well, believe me, if Rico went down when I was up there, man, I would have never been the same. To be fair, I never would have been welcome back to Boston. That's for sure.
We'd have all been ostracized. That would have been.
Yeah, there's no doubt. Like Tom shows bye. He's like the black sheep of the Lumber family now. Yep. But anyway, one of the other things I wanted to cover on today's show. Oh, let me announce the prizes for today. So we are going to give away 7 prizes. The only way for those of you who are listening afterwards, after our show today, and you're enjoying our content here on Leighton's Loft, is you have to tune in during our live show and comment on our Leighton's Loft Facebook page during the show. And if you do, you'll get 1 entry into our promo. And if you share the show, you'll have a 2nd entry. We appreciate you telling other folks about our show. And we're going to give away 7 prizes today. We generally give away 7 prizes each and every week, but there are of course, exceptions. Today, first place is a $50 break credit. Second place is a spot in our newly listed 1967 Topps baseball set break featuring a Tom Seaver rookie PSA 6. And the last size spots will all get a $10 break credit to vintagebreaks.com, where we have about 200 or so breaks for you to check out. Anything from pack breaks, box breaks, set breaks, and hit randoms, and a lot more. Bunch of good stuff there. Hey, Brian. Good afternoon. So the next thing I wanted to talk about, Lou, was before we do that, I want to do a giveaway. Can you see this on the screen?
Mark Gastineau.
Mark Gastineau, game used, autographed jersey, numbered of 99.
You can use the desktop camera if you want.
Great. And this is a really nice one. Like I said, it's from Immaculate, numbered of 99, game used, Mark Gastineau on the black. It looks really sharp. I'd like to give that away in the Loft, Lou. Maybe you can come up with some sort of football trivia question. Hey, Mario. And the reason I'm giving it away, Lou, is I plan to start giving away some Jets stuff in the hopes to break the curse.
Oh.
And like, what's the curse? It's not even to make the playoffs. It's just the curse of being the Jets. So the thing is, like, I know I can't stop liking the Jets, but I'm hoping to share some Jets love with other collectors. And whether it be you're a Gastineau fan or just appreciate he was a good defensive player and was very popular, this is a great card. I'm hoping to give away some Jets love and just maybe, man, get some love going back the Jets way because they need it.
Those are fun times. Those are my season ticket holder years when the Jets and Patriots were a big rivalry and we just hated the Jets and they hated us. And Klecko and Gastineau and O'Brien was the quarterback, right, at that time?
Yep. Maybe it's possible. I just realized if I give away enough Jet stuff, like something will happen where I'll be zapped and I actually won't like the Jets anymore. But I don't think that's really going to happen because I'm like one of those sick Jet fans. But we're going to give this away on the show today, Lou. We're going to have you ask a question whenever you're ready. Let us know.
I got to find a football one.
Sure.
Oh, yeah. Okay. I got one.
Great, Lou. Lay it on the community.
I'm making a Patriots Jets trivia question.
Great.
Which Jet linebacker is best known for the hit that ended Drew Bledsoe's career with the Patriots and launched Tom Brady's career?
Great question.
Yeah.
Excuse me. So, Lou, you will monitor the chat. The first person to answer that correctly on Leighton's Loft Facebook page.
That's Joseph Hoysock.
Yep, Mo. I thought it might have been Mo. Mo Lewis was he was one of the really good Jets during a dark time, Joseph.
Yes, he was, and he changed forever the course of Patriots football. Who knows what might have happened if that hit hadn't happened? Oh, we'll get. Did I mute you or did you mute you, Leighton?
I muted me. I muted it by accident. Good now?
Yep, we're good.
All right. Now that's going out to Joseph. Also wanted to show an interesting card of the week. I was going through some stuff in the Loft here. Maybe I'll show it on the main camera, Lou.
Okay. And let me put that up. Hang on. Give me 1 second. There we go.
So this is from the 1948 Topps Magic photo set. It is one of the first Topps ever collector card sets. It features sports as well as some interesting non-sports. And, being a fellow, New Yorker, I just felt that, like, even though I'm not living there, I was born in Brooklyn, even though I wasn't born in the city, like a card of the Empire State Building in 1948, it was such a different time then.
Yeah.
But the fact that it was still so important that Topps produced a card of it, I don't know. When I was able to get one, especially in nice condition, because they're not easy to find, both in terms of the actual condition of the card, but then, Lou, these were actual photos that you would develop. That's why, thus the name Magic Photos.
Oh, wow.
So, the contrast wasn't always really good, but check that out. Like, how great a photo is that for a little card?
It's beautiful, huh?
110 stories.
Jason, let me assure you, I didn't know that was going to be the question until about 10 seconds before it was going to be the question. So there's no way that Joseph knew.
Thought that was pretty cool.
So is that part? What else was in that series, or is that a one-off?
Oh no, there's like a Babe Ruth's in it. So there's baseball, there's boxers, there's football. So that was probably part of Lou famous landmarks. Yes. So that's part of famous landmarks.
What's the grade on that?
6.5, which is pretty high for that set.
Yep.
They're very, very fragile. They're thin cards.
Oh, Doug makes a very good point. Bledsoe got hurt, and that led to Tom Brady, of course, and then the Giants hurt Bledsoe with the Cowboys, and that led to Tony Romo.
Wow, that is a really good correlation there, Doug. I forgot about that. Interesting. Evening, Stephen. So, Lou, before I break open this hoops item here, I want to talk about fractional shares in the industry and in the hobby, and I wanted to see if any folks out there have participated either on Rally Road or Collectible, or they've been thinking about participating on Rally Road or Collectible, or for that matter, Otis. There's a few other fractional share places in the art space. So for those of you that are a little bit curious as to what fractional shares are, at least in the collectibles world, it's generally geared towards more expensive items. And what the particular platform does is it takes that item's price and it breaks it up into fractional shares. And so I'm making it up. If it's, 10 items at or 100 items at $10, then it's $1,000 offering price.
Yep.
So obviously it's generally higher than that, and it's become very popular in other spaces like art. Rally Road started in sports cars.
Yep.
And it's now started to invade the sports card space.
Okay, this is interesting in the sports card space because all the other areas that you mentioned are all pretty solidly investments, right? But you have to, if you're going for a fractional share of a card, you are committing to investment. And a lot of times in the card industry, it seems like it's kind of a pie chart between how much of it is having the card and how much is investing in the card. But if you're buying a fractional share, you're pretty solidly in the investing camp, aren't you?
It's interesting. I've listened to and I've read a bunch about it, and I've listened to some good podcasts, including a shout out to my friend Darren Herman of Midlife Crisis Cards. He'd make a great podcast guest. Lou, he's actually from the Boston area.
Oh, nice.
He's not in the card space full time or anything of that nature, but he's really intelligent, and he's very interested in the fractional space. And he recently had someone on his podcast from Alt Insights about it. So I listened to that. It was more of like a beginner podcast, but still, I thought it was really nicely done. And they talked about what you just brought up, Lou, how you think, well, hey, if someone's buying just a fractional piece or a share of a baseball card that's expensive, well, they got to be an investor. But the reality of it is, Lou, that's just one of the types of users they have. They have other users, if you think about it, right? Take someone who really wants that Mickey Mantle iconic card or that really expensive LeBron James card that's worth $50,000, and they're just never going to be able to buy it.
Right.
Well, all of a sudden now, you're not even really buying it because you think it's worth money. You're buying it almost as like why you buy a concert T-shirt or a concert poster at a concert. You don't necessarily think they're going to go up in the future, and they may, but you're buying it because you're a fan. It's fandom. So what they were saying is there's a bunch of different types of users of these fractional shares, because even though you're not an investor, you might just be a fan of the 52 Mantle and know you're never going to buy one. So even though like you are buying it and you own a piece of the financial upside of it, you're more buying it as like a token to say like, hey, I was there, right? I own a piece of this. That's not really like with the investment or the investor mentality.
But do you really get any ownership benefits? Because doing it as a collector, I just like the card or I want a piece of the card. I mean, you never physically have the card, right?
Well, no, you would not physically have the card, and certainly that would be one of the big arguments against it. But to be fair, you're talking about items that most people will never be able to get to have.
Right.
So it's not as if, well, you don't have it, but your friend down the street has it, and so does your neighbor, and so does your buddy at work. No, like these are cards that generally, not all the time, but generally are out of reach for like the average person.
Yeah.
The average person, meaning even if you have that much money, you're not necessarily going to be buying it because you don't need to brag to others. And so I'm really enjoying seeing these comments come in. Let's see here. So yeah, you're never physically able to have it. And Sean, sounds like then it wouldn't be for you. Hey, what's up, Chris? Chris Cohen, I love chatting about this all the time. For Otis and Rally, you have to be an accredited. Oh, wait, I didn't realize that. For Rally, you have to be an accredited investor also. For collectible, you definitely don't. And so, Chris, if you don't mind,
pardon my financial ignorance. What is an accredited investor?
It may have to do with your net worth. I don't remember.
I see.
But Chris Coe, if you don't mind letting us know. Very cool. So Chris, Gil, this wouldn't be for you.
Yeah.
Yep. Aldo, this wouldn't be for you. And to be fair, right, like, I don't know that I would buy more than one share as to say I'm proud of owning a share of it. But I mean, I would tell you that if they're smart, and I bet you they're moving towards this direction, Lou, you probably have some sort of virtual portfolio. Yep. And honestly, these days I see with kids, it's more important to them to have like a lot of likes on a Facebook page or, you know, post or a shout out from someone famous from, you know, like Cameo or something like that than something physical. And I think that's where the world is going.
I think there are people who would feel an ownership share and a fractional share of a card, but I got to think that's kind of a slim part of the market. I'm guessing it obviously makes sense for an investor, for the investment side of it. And some people are going to feel a tangible ownership stake in owning a fractional share, but I don't think that's widespread. I'm not sure. I'm interested in what people think about it.
Well, so am I. Based on what I can see so far, it seems most of the folks who are commenting would prefer, you know, to pass on that and like say, hey, I'd rather have it in my hands. And there's no doubt I'd rather have it in my hands.
Now, Rocco talks about Bitcoin here, which is kind of interesting, except you can trade it. And I'm guessing you could trade these fractional shares.
Well, that's so we're going to, believe me, Darren did a good job. Darren Herman did a good job with his podcast of, you know, setting up my thoughts. I don't really have notes, but I know the space fairly well, at least in cards, because I've been looking at it for quite some time now. And there's a few things to keep in mind. So if I may kind of explain to everyone my, you know, 2 cents knowledge on the subject, you got to look at it as a company. And the reason why it will help you conceptualize a little bit better what you're doing. So when a company comes out and becomes an IPO, whether it be on the NASDAQ or the New York Stock Exchange, there generally is a 90-day lockup period. So once again, we're just talking about stock for a minute. So for a stock, when it comes out as an IPO, even if you get in on that IPO with your broker and it gets you a great deal, you're not trading that stock for generally between 90 and 120 days. So keep in mind, folks, yes, when you own a piece of Coca-Cola, most folks do that because they want to invest in the company. Do not fool yourself. There are some people who own a share or several shares of Coca-Cola just because they want to have pride and ownership and they love the brand. That's what these fractional share spaces are betting on. And so now let's compare the IPO method with a company to a card. The card is the company. You're not going to ever be able to own and touch and physically bring home Coca-Cola. Well, to be fair, the product you can, but not the company, to your home. Well, much in the same way, you couldn't afford to buy the Coca-Cola company. You can't afford to buy a Mickey Mantle 8, which is $600,000 in 1952 tops. So, and I'm sure there's many other buckets, but the first two buckets that come to mind, investor we already talked about, and the reason why investors like this space, and Chris Coe alluded to this. So Lou and anyone else who doesn't really understand the space yet, a key component is after the lockup period, then shares can be traded for a certain period of time. So we'll use simple numbers. If you bought your share at $10 and they're now trading at $20, you've now doubled your money. I'm not suggesting that it's that simple, by the way. I'm just simply pointing out that some have actually gone for more, others are flat, but they're trying to trade it like a stock, but understand that there are rules and regulations. They're regulated by the SEC. And I see Chris Coe's adding some, great. So Chris,
you to finish your point, but yeah.
Yeah, so ultimately, Lou and gang, what happens is it is issued as an IPO. It's locked up for a period of 90 to 120 days. Then you can trade the shares of it for an initial period of, I don't know all the rules and regulations, but the point is these shares will be able to be traded on that company like Rally, like Otis, those platforms. The shares will be able to be traded. So even if you're someone, and just like, we've done this before, right? Lou, there's probably someone you went to school with or a concert with back in the day, and they kept a really valuable ticket or a really valuable T-shirt, and it's worth money. Mm-hmm. And if they own it, that's great. But if you want to own it and it's worth $50,000, you're not going to be buying that T-shirt. But it allows you to have that same kind of feeling, pride in ownership. It does not allow you to physically have the card, but I believe they're going to do a really nice job with the digital asset management so that folks can be sitting around the bar. Folks can be sitting around watching the ball game with their friends and saying, oh, my God, look at my app. Look at my portfolio in the Rally app or the Otis app. And I own 3 shares of the Mantle, and I own this. And by the way, according to this, I'm up X amount. And so it really is similar to breaking in the sense of, this part is similar. You're breaking down the cost of an item that's generally more expensive than you'd like to spend. But the difference with breaking is you always come away with something, whereas here you're really just getting a piece of paper or an electronic, email or some sort of documentation that says you own a share in the company. But it really is a very nice alternative for a collector. It's a really nice alternative for an investor because let's just say you have only $50,000 and you want to spend that on baseball cards. If you bought 10 $5,000 cards, well, you're kind of stuck. Yep. You can buy a lot more cards just like in stocks and have a more balanced portfolio if you do it in this fractional share way. And so to me, that's actually, Lou, when it first hit me, is because I'm always struggling like, hey, I don't want to have too much dollars in this area or this area because I want to have a balanced portfolio. Well, this is really a nice way to have a balanced portfolio or doing it for you.
Right. This is kind of the discussion we had a week or two ago where we were talking modern cards during vintage as opposed to vintage cards and fueling the hobby. You can have some fractional shares in each genre. So, you're not tied into one or the other.
I'm reading some of the comments here. So Jason Bodley says, you're not buying the card as a card collector. You're buying a commodity. It doesn't matter what the item is. Russ says, to me, it doesn't make sense, but a share of a coveted card from a collector's perspective, it does make sense as an investor. Listen, guys, 100%. They're not necessarily selling it to you as like you should be converted as a collector to do it. I'm just simply saying I think there's going to be a few different buckets of people that are going to buy into this. And we didn't even get into the other buckets. So, for example, we've now talked about investors. We've now talked about collectors, right? Well, what about buddies of the L trade, right? What my buddies, and what I mean is shout out to my buddies Greg and Minnick and Lodato and Reiner and Lee. And so what I'm saying is these are all guys that they all make a pretty decent living, and they're all sports fans, right? Depending on the sport, like they love it, whatever. And they do love to gamble a little bit, right?
Yep.
And so my point is you didn't even address someone who just wants to pure gamble on, like, I think this guy's undervalued. That's not really an investor. To me, an investor is someone who's having a balanced portfolio and looking at risk. And so, like, what I'm saying is there's a lot of different people this may appeal to, not just collectors, not just investors, gamblers. And then a step further, D, is of my friends, putting aside the gamblers, what about simply they're just sports fans?
Yeah. So
once again, there's someone who maybe like they're like me. I don't bet a lot on these apps. I mean, if you looked, you'd laugh. Like, Leighton, are you all right? I literally bet $2, $7 because I don't want to bet a lot of money. I don't want to like lose money doing that, but I do enjoy it. It's fun. It adds like a nice little angle. And I think it's the same thing for my buddies. Hey, I can buy $30 or $300 of LeBron card that's worth $50,000. There's not even that many LeBron cards you could buy for $30 or $300 that's worth it. So I can see the appeal to my friends, why very casually they might roll up $500, a few $1,000 in fractional shares. And so that's why I started to investigate the space, Lou, because I thought that there was a lot of different types of users.
You were talking about, you called it a gambler, and I was thinking the same thing, and I didn't say it beforehand, but I was thinking more in terms of day traders. In other words, you get the initial offering, and that person thinks, well, you know what? In 90 days, when this goes out, price is going to go out. I'm going to make a few bucks. They take their profit after that point and just get out. Instead of being in it for the long haul, more like day trading.
Yeah, well, there's a bunch of people. I mean, there's some just because of the timing and the way that it's constructed. According to I'm sure the regulations they have to follow. Some things are very obviously like a good buy or a good play, but realize it's not liquid like having cash in your desk, but it's pretty liquid.
Is it like an equity where a sale price will up the floor for all the shares of it? Or is it like an open market where, listen, say there are 10 shares of card X and they're going for $100, but someone buys one of the shares for $200. Are all the shares worth $200 now? Or
no, definitely not. And then also one of the ways that these assets turn into cash for everybody is there's a buyout offer made for the asset. And depending on the platform, there's different rules that apply. So and I'm making this up, of course.
Yeah, Chris was talking about it earlier, yeah.
Yeah, on one platform, it might be, hey, we're going to have a vote. We got a buyout offer for a Sandy Koufax rookie in an 8.5. And if we have 65% of the people say yes of the outstanding shares, we're going to sell. But to me, that's super fun because it kind of feels like you're the owner in a small company, you know?
Yep.
Yeah, just looking at some of the discounts here. Or, I'm sorry, some of the comments here.
Rocco, obviously a lot of interest. Most of the fractional shares are sold out in a short period of time, some in less than an hour.
Yep, the trading window is definitely not open daily. Sometimes it's open, once a quarter. That is true. Yeah, no. So Rocco, and the great point. So far, Lou, almost all of the offerings when they go public for the first time, they're selling out like super fast. So I don't know who's buying them. I haven't done interviews. I'm learning more about the space. It's really interesting.
How is the cost per share determined?
So Darren Herman covered that really well. This guy from Alt Insights. So it really just depends. But ultimately, Lou, if the company feels that there's a huge demand, then they'll end up issuing more shares. If they're a little bit worried about how many people in volume will actually buy it, they'll tend to have less shares and increase the price per share.
I see.
So I'm trying to read the comments as well.
Monty wants to know when's the IPO on Leighton's Loft.
Yeah.
I like it. Let's go that way.
I like that too. So Dom, you're right. I like watching the different assets, not just cards. I feel like really in tune to art and pocketbooks. Not that I'm buying and selling those, but just, I don't know. I like learning about other collectibles and seeing, are other industries as hot as ours. It's very new. I'm not suggesting that anyone should get in. I'm just saying it's interesting, and I thought it would be a great topic to discuss.
Well, Aldo says it seems like it's going to make cards more expensive for the average collector. The more expensive cards, is this, you think, something that's going to become a predominant part of the business? In other words, will there still be single cards being bought and sold, or is the fractional share of this going to be so economically viable for somebody that it's going to take over the business?
Sure. So nothing will take over the business right away. But part of the reason why, and Chris Coe and I have been talking offline about it, I know he's just fascinated by the space. I am as well. The reason why I'm investing my time, besides being interested, is my gut tells me that it's going to be a new way to trade cards, like a substantial way. Like, how much volume is it going to put eBay out of business? No, I'm not saying that. But I think there's going to be a lot of volume that's traded like this in terms of dollars.
Especially the higher end cards, right? I mean,
yes.
The higher end of the business may just evolve into this.
Or a substantial portion of it, yes. Our pleasure, Joseph. I'm glad you enjoy it. Yeah. Don, you're making fun of me in the pocketbooks. Well, I was listening to someone's content, and the guy said, like, his wife is into Birkin bags or whatever, something. It's an expensive pocketbook. And I just said to myself, Jesus criminy, thank God Julie is not into, like, she likes pocketbooks, and some of them are expensive.
Yes.
But not like 50 grand expensive or something stupid, No,
on the pocketbook scale, to me, the difference between $600 and $50,000 isn't much. You're nuts at $600.
Well, I agree, but like, I can also live and keep my food down at $600.
That's true.
At 50,000, Lou, I'm going to have an ulcer and be in the hospital, my man. So, but yeah, my conclusion is that the space is here to stay. It's really interesting. It's not for everyone, but I think that there's a bunch of different types of people that it will apply to. And then it's funny, that was me the last thing I was going to say. So Lou and I and everyone here pretty much feel the same as Rocco just pointed out, that I don't know if it was going to be like a lot in terms of its 84%, but something greater than what we see now is going to be fractionalized. And it just seems like they're rolling out these assets on these high-end items, cards, pretty often. So if they can do it and they're successful, like to me, generally, in business, people try things until it fails. So they're going to keep going.
Well, why, if you had a $1 million card, for example, or a $500,000 card, and you're the owner of it, why wouldn't you put it on the market for fractional shares? Still you physically hold the card. I don't know how this works, whether you'd have to give up the card physically, but you could do fractional shares of half the card and still hold the controlling interest.
I love that's stuff that Chris and I talk about off air.
Yeah,
and each platform, Lou, has its own list of rules and regulations.
Mm-hmm.
And if you will, like its own game.
Yep.
So Chris and I were kind of just saying, as a collector, wouldn't it be great? Like, instead of, here's my Ty Cobb, I don't really want to sell it.
Right.
But you know what? I'll take 50% of the money off the table.
Right.
We'll put this puppy over here, and to be fair, they're not going to let you keep it. You're going to have to relinquish. They're going to have to take control of it. I know that. But regardless, it'd be really cool to dictate, like, you know what? I don't want to sell 100% of the shares. I only want to sell half the amount of shares.
Mm-hmm.
But then, of course, Jason's saying the logistics would be interesting. I would rather, keep it at home with me. But I don't think that the other people would rather keep it at home with you. And certainly if they have, if they're under the SEC, guidelines and such, I would imagine there's fairly stringent rules for how they keep the assets and such.
Yeah, so there's going to be a business for keeping assets, physical assets that you're selling fractional shares of.
Yes. So, I thought this was, and I'm glad that everyone has found it. Yep, super high-end vintage, really fractionalized. Chris, stay away from the stuff I want to buy before it gets crazy. It's already getting nuts. I don't want to panic anyone and say go out there and buy the card you want now. But I would say if there's any card that's like $5,000 and higher that's out there that you've had your eye on, I would pull the trigger. If you were thinking about it, because it's just the market's nuts right now. All right, Lou, I got a 2019 Hoops Premium Stock box I was going to open.
Okay. Let me get this up. There we go.
And if we pull a Zion or a Ja, we're going to give someone a $25 break credit.
Chris says right now I could sell my X card as an IPO and only sell 80% of it and retain 20%.
Yep, that would be great.
I mean, could there be a hostile takeover of the card, so to speak, where
the L train comes in the middle of the night and buys out all his Hank Aaron rookies?
Yeah.
Lou, that's awesome, man. I could see reporting on the news, doing that. That'd be great.
Yeah, but why wouldn't it? That would be the purpose for retaining a certain percentage of the card to avoid a hostile takeover.
It's really funny, but I think it's here to stay.
I think so.
I think there's a lot of great stuff that's going to come out of it, and it is going to cause certain assets to be sold because I don't know the rules, but let's just say you can't retain it formally. Well, if you put an asset out for sale, you can go buy it in the secondary market. I'm still going to go out and buy 10% of the shares back in that card because I love it.
Well, if you've got a 6-figure card, and you can bring more customers to the table without devaluing the card, why would you not do that? Because there are only so many amount of people that could buy a $600,000 card or a $500,000 card. But if you're selling fractional shares, that opens up the market considerably.
Agreed.
Chris says, I could be forced to sell my 20%. Yeah, so you could have a hostile takeover.
Yeah, exactly. I'll be leading that group, Chris. All right, so we'll open it like this. I think it's a little bit more fun. So basically, Hoops Premium Stock seems to be the Chrome version of Hoops. I love it. Hey, what's up, Andrew? Welcome.
Richard Chow says basketball is the hottest of all the sports cards. It appears this is what we talked about last week, and how much of modern basketball was driving this surge in the hobby.
Totally.
Ernie said he'll sell 100% of his Mitch Trubisky cards.
Yeah. There we go. We got a second-year Trey. Just leave that up. You know, it's not anything great, but looks centered and second-year Trey. People are buying base cards.
Richard asks, what sport is the second hottest sports in sports cards, do you think? Basketball is the first, and I think what?
Right now it's football, there's no doubt.
Football?
Yeah.
That's
But
seasonal,
it's seasonal. It's because baseball's out of season right now.
Yep.
Terry Rozier is actually playing pretty well for Charlotte.
Russell agrees.
EG. Chris Dunn. Oh, he's doing terrible for the Knicks. Siakam.
Chef Ted's here.
What's up, Chef?
Yeah, Chris, what determines how many shares are made of a particular card or sold of a particular card?
The company decides.
Okay.
Based on how much demand they think there is. So the more demand they think that there is, they'll produce more shares at a cheaper price.
So will the company buy the card from the owner, or will the company essentially set this up for the owner?
Well, it's interesting. So that's kind of like what I'm still looking into, but I think depends on the company.
Yep.
We got a Jean Leque silver rookie, which admittedly I don't know who he is, but I'll sleeve him up. It's a silver rookie.
No, Doug, nobody's interested in soccer. I'm sorry.
All right, Andrew Wiggins. Oh, what's this? Lugens Looks like it's a nice and shiny card.
Yeah.
I just don't know that's a big, it's a big name, unfortunately. Here we go, Darius Basley.
I wonder what would happen to the card industry if the NCAA, if things in the NCAA change so that players could get some rewards for their fame as college players. In other words, would they be able to sell rights to players for a card set, things like that?
You never know. Could be coming. Jackson Hayes. Love this. These cards look awesome, man.
I know this. That looks great. Showing up nicely, too.
Yeah, it is. I'm looking at it on camera. Kyrie, speak of the devil. My God. Thank God. I was listening to some good sports talk radio the other day, and they're like, do you understand how happy Celtics fans are right now?
Yeah.
Because, even though you don't win the title, and yeah, the Nets obviously just got James Harden, this guy is a complete psycho.
What do you know about the Panini blockchain cards? That's kind of interesting because Bitcoin is super hot right now.
It is. Kawhi Leonard. I don't know if this is just a base or a base silver. It's a nice card. I do not know much about it. I feel like Chris Coe knows more about blockchain than myself. We talked about it a little bit. It's definitely still in its infancy stages.
Minnesota Husker says, don't sleep on NASCAR cards. Is there, I'm guessing the market for that would be regional, right?
I don't really know. I know that there's definitely a market for soccer cards right now. It's been as hot as it's been in years, honestly. And then for NASCAR, even though I've kind of ignored it, Panini makes a National Treasures NASCAR product. I don't know how popular it is, but listen, NASCAR is very popular, and has a lot of, very serious fans. I didn't grow up a NASCAR fan. I'm not one myself, but
NASCAR suffers from the same problem that I think the PGA suffers from at this point. If you remember, you're old enough, and I'm certainly old enough to remember the PGA when it was personality driven, when you had Lee Trevino and you had Jack Nicklaus and Ivan Palmer, and stuff like that. And these players were big personalities, and now it's a little bit more corporate. NASCAR is kind of the same way. There aren't a lot of, on a lot of Dale Earnhardt's left, and there were a lot of great drivers back in the day, a couple decades ago, that had super personalities. Now most of the drivers are kind of corporate, and it's kind of homogenized a little bit. Although there's a few like Tony Stewart, probably the last one of the NASCAR drivers who really had a big personality.
No, I agree. I think the sports have changed a little bit. Obviously times have changed, so I mean, it doesn't shock me.
Ernie says, I've seen NASCAR blasters at Walmart. They stay on the shelves up north here. I wonder if collectors down south should know something about that, or broker somebody out.
Yeah, I would say hook up with someone in a different area of the country.
Yep.
Cool. Well, I think that, in terms of fractional shares, most important thing to do, right? Even if you know cards, like I know cards colds, what I do, for a living. I love it, passionate about it. I'm professional at it, buy and sell professionally, but yet the trading of fractional shares is different. And so I've enjoyed very much. I almost feel like I'm in school. I'm taking a class. I'm seeking out the class. I'm seeking out the content on fractional shares, trying to learn more. And if nothing else, so that, because I've thought myself to throw in money, and I don't want to do it until I fully understand how it all works and, what's going to happen potentially with my money as it gets invested.
Yeah, but this is going to make its way into the hobby. This is not fringe. This is something people are going to have to be familiar with going forward.
Oh, that's what I mean. Like I believe wholeheartedly, and I don't have a stake in any of these companies. It's here to stay.
Yep.
And it makes
a lot of sense. Yeah.
Yeah, totally. Cool. Well, let's give away the 7 prizes today live on our show. We haven't done that in a little bit. Normally it's right after. I'm going to randomize the list right now for the guy. Well, they're going to randomize it, but we're going to roll it. We're going to do it 4 times. I'm
bringing Dougie in, and we don't have a picture of the desktop down there.
Alrighty.
Okay. Doug, you with us?
Yeah, I'm here.
Okay, you got our list for us. What was the number, Leighton? 7?
4 times. 4 times.
4 times. Okay. Let me just get random up here. Okay. I guess I'm going to have to take my word for it here. So.
Oh, what's the deal? You can't show the screen?
No, we don't have the screen up down there.
Okay. Do you want to wait then and do a Dougie on the other show so they can see it? Or then,
Actually, hold on. J5 is going to do it. Hold on.
Oh, okay.
Hold on.
It's always J5 to the rescue.
I know.
We could do it on our show.
We'll do it on our show?
Yeah.
All right, J5, so we're going to do it on to start on our show.
All right. Tribal Council has spoke.
All right. So everybody on Vintage Breaks YouTube and Vintage Breaks Facebook page, you can find the broadcast with the show as we continue. We set it up so you can just flip over and continue for the breaks the rest of the night.
Yeah, no, it's really great work that you did with the team, Lou, to make that happen. Smooth transition over. And I just wanted to remind everyone, tonight we're going to be breaking from 5:30 till 9:30 or 10, excuse me, at Vintage Breaks North. And then at 10 o'clock, it gets turned over to Sir Charles and Vintage Breaks West. And then I know everyone's missed Gilmore, but he'll be back tomorrow starting at 1 p.m. He has off on Wednesdays now. He's negotiated.
Oh, really?
Well, I mean, listen, I said to him, you're working 7 days a week, so, I appreciate it, but you're going to burn out. So, I don't think you should do that.
Yeah.
So I'm glad that we're able to figure that out. And, we have a nice, fun night ahead of us for breaking. We just list some 2019 Mosaic Choice Basketball, a few other goodies. So stay tuned for Vintage Breaks on YouTube. You can find us at youtube.com/Vintage Breaks. And, of course, you can find me and Lou and the gang here every week on Leighton's Loft, our weekly Facebook podcast. And if you tune in live, it is the only way to win one of 7 prizes each and every week. Thanks for tuning in, folks.